The convergence had never seen anything like it. Across 17 star systems, 1,000 alien fleets hung in the void like metal locusts, their hulls gleaming under distant suns. The assembled armada represented 43 different species, each driven by the same desperate need to claim the small blue-green world that had somehow become the center of galactic attention. Commander Zexhai of the Krillian hegemony studied the tactical displays aboard his flagship. The human homeworld sat like a prize jewel in the center of a vast sphere of warships. Dreadnoughts from the Silicate Collective cast shadows over cruisers. From the Hive Queens, plasma frigates from the Thermal clans drifted alongside bioships from the Living Fleet. Never before had so many species united in common purpose. Signal from the Arctarian Dominion commander, his communications officer reported, mandibles clicking nervously. They're requesting priority positioning for the final assault. Zexhai's 4 eyes narrowed. The Arcturians always pushed for prominence, but their plasma cannons would be useful in cracking Earth's surprisingly robust defense grid. Grant them Sector 7 Alpha, but remind them that the Krillian hegemony commands this operation. The human world had done the impossible. In just 3 standard cycles, they had gone from a primitive species dabbling with crude fusion technology to something far more dangerous. Their first contact with the galaxy had been unusual. Most species sent diplomatic envoys or trade delegations. Humans had sent a single transmission that had reached every corner of known space simultaneously. It wasn't the message that had alarmed the galactic community. It was how they had sent it. The transmission had bypassed every known law of physics. It had arrived instantaneously across distances that should have taken decades to cross, even using the fastest quantum communicators. Worse, it had penetrated every form of shielding, every encryption, every protective barrier that the galaxy's most advanced civilizations could devise. The message itself had been simple. Hello, we are humanity. We would like to talk. Within days, the first scout fleets had arrived at Sol System. They found a species that shouldn't have posed any threat. Bipedal mammals with short lifespans and fragile bodies, barely capable of interstellar travel. But the scouts also found something else, a defense network that made no sense. The humans had somehow weaponized their greatest weakness. Commander, his tactical officer reported, we're detecting another anomaly from the human world. Zexhai leaned forward in his command throne. For weeks, the humans had been broadcasting strange energy signatures. Nothing threatening, just peculiar, like whispers at the edge of perception. Analysis? Unknown, sir. The energy patterns don't match anything in our databases, but they're getting stronger. Across the assembled fleets, similar reports were flooding command channels. The Thermal clans reported temperature fluctuations in their plasma cores. The Silicate Collective's crystal matrices were resonating with frequencies that shouldn't exist. The Living Fleet's bioships were becoming agitated, their organic hulls pulsing with unnatural rhythms. Admiral Kethvar of the Arctarian Dominion contacted Zexhai directly, her scaled face appearing on the main display. Commander, my fleet is experiencing system-wide malfunctions. Our navigation computers are singing. Singing? I know how it sounds, but there's no other way to describe it. Our machines are producing harmonious tones. It's beautiful and terrifying. Before Zexhai could respond, his own ship shuddered. Not from external impact, but from something internal. Every screen, every display, every communication device aboard his flagship began emitting a soft, melodious hum. The sound spread through the convergence like a wave. From the smallest fighter craft to the mightiest dreadnoughts, every piece of technology began to sing. Not malfunction. Sing. The harmony was perfect, complex, and utterly alien to every species' understanding of how machines should operate. What is this? Zexhai demanded, but his crew could only stare in wonder and terror as their instruments continued their impossible chorus. Then came the whisper. It wasn't heard through speakers or communication arrays. It came from everywhere and nowhere, settling into the minds of every being in the convergence like morning mist. The voice was gentle, barely perceptible, but it carried across 1,000 fleets with perfect clarity. "Please," it said, "don't make us show you what we've learned." The whisper spoke in every language simultaneously. Krillian clicks, Arcturian hisses, silicate harmonic frequencies, the chemical sense of the hive queens, all at once, all perfectly understood. "We know you're afraid of us," the whisper continued. "We know you think we're dangerous. But we're not what you fear. We're what we had to become to survive what you fear." Sci-fi felt something he hadn't experienced since his youth. Genuine terror. What are they talking about? The answer came not as words, but as images flooding every mind in the convergence. Visions of empty space where stars should have been. Galaxies with their cores torn out. Reality itself warped and twisted by something so fundamentally wrong that the universe seemed to recoil from it. "They came to our world first," the whisper explained. "The Devourers, the ones you've all been running from for 1,000,000 years. They taught us what silence really means." The singing of the machines grew softer, more haunting. "We learned to whisper because screaming only makes them hungry. We learned to hide because fighting only makes them stronger. And we learned to speak their language because it was the only way to make them leave." A new understanding crashed over the assembled fleets. The humans weren't the threat. They were the solution. They had faced the galaxy's greatest nightmare and found a way to communicate with it, to bargain with it, to make it go away. "You want our world because you think it's safe," the whisper said. "But it's not safe because of what we built. It's safe because of what we convinced to go somewhere else. And if you stay here, if you make too much noise, they might come back." The silence that followed was absolute. 1,000 fleets, representing the military might of 43 species, all holding their breath. "Please," the whisper repeated. "Just go home and live. We'll keep whispering in the dark so you don't have to." One by one, the fleets began to withdraw, not in defeat, but in understanding. The humans had offered them the greatest gift in the galaxy, the promise of continued existence. As the last ships jumped to hyperspace, leaving the small blue world alone in its quiet vigil, the singing finally stopped. In the depths of space, something vast and hungry turned away from the light of Sol, disinterested in prey that knew how to whisper back. And humanity continued its eternal conversation with the dark, keeping the galaxy safe with nothing more than gentle words and the wisdom of silence.